Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. We are continuing to follow breaking news from Los Angeles. The Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon is holding a news conference on the Menendez brothers. The DA is giving an update on the convictions of Eric and Lyle Menendez. The Menendez brothers have spent nearly 35 years in prison for killing their parents, Kitty and Jose Menendez. I want to take you there now. Now, again, we've been taking this feed in. There are a number of hits and imperfections in it. We apologize for that. The feed is not ours. We can only take in what is sent out. So let's take a look.
We've also got evidence that was provided by the defense, by his lawyers, that one of the members of the Menudo band alleged that he was molested by the father. None of this information has been confirmed. We are not, at this point, ready to say that we either believe or do not believe that information. But we're here to tell you that we have a moral and an ethical obligation to review what is being presented to us and make a determination based on the resentencing side, whether they deserve to be resentenced, even though they were clearly the murderers, because they have been in prison for 35 years and they have paid back their dues to society, or whether habeas is appropriate if there was evidence that was not presented to the court at that time, and had that evidence been presented, perhaps a jury would have come to a different conclusion. I don't think there is any question in this case that the boys were the young men, one was 19, the other was 21 at the time, that they murdered their parents. I think that's factual, it's been established. I think the questions that are presented to us is two simple questions. One possibility, what is being alleged by his lawyers, not by us, that there was evidence that had that evidence been presented to the jury, the outcome of this case would have been different. And second, under California law, a path to resentencing where a prosecutor can evaluate whether someone has been rehabilitated, and if so, ask the court to determine whether the person should be resentenced. If they get resentenced, there are multiple things that could happen. They could walk out based on what the court decides, or they can have the sentence given a different shape, and perhaps they will stay on, but for a longer period, lesser period of time, or they can have a new trial. Right. Those are all options, and we will evaluate all of it. We have a hearing coming up on November 29th, and until we get there, we're not sure yet which direction this will go. Are there any questions? Well, by the way, one of the things that I want to add too, because I think it's important that you contextualize what resentencing means. Since I've been in office, we have resentenced over 300 people. Of those, only 4 have reoffended, which is probably one of the lowest recidivism rate of any group that I'm aware of. If you do the math, and I'm here standing because if I was better at math, I would be teaching math or doing something else. It's a very low rate. In fact, if our recidivism rate for all the crimes that we face were to be that low, we would be the safest society in the world. And we're not. So just so you understand also, this concept of resentencing is a concept that we have used successfully many times and will continue to do more as a country. Any questions?
Other than the November 29th.
Excuse me, I got a question. I'll get to all of you. Yes.
Given the cultural shift in how we view sexual assault, do you think that this case would have been handled differently if it was tried today?
Look, because I don't know yet the validity of all the evidence that was presented as opposed to the evidence that was not presented, I'm not here to make judgment on that, but there's no question that today would have been a greater level of sensitivity to the way the case was looked at.
You've had this evidence for over a year now. Why speak out today and now?
Well, there's combination.
All right. So we're going to step away. It's just becoming a little bit difficult to follow. But, all right, they want us to stay in. Let's stay in.
Investigate this very, very carefully. Often we go back and not only do we go through all the... Yes, sir.
Other than the November 29th hearing, what's kind of the time frame or the timeline? Do you expect to make a decision after that hearing? And are you leaning towards one way or the other as far as having this resentencing?
Yeah, I'm not leaning in any direction right now. I'm keeping an open mind. We have people in the office that are looking at this very carefully, very experienced lawyers that are looking at this. That evidence will be presented to me. Their recommendation will be presented to me, but the final decision will be mine. Yes, sir.
The habeas petition was filed last year, and I believe your office has been putting 90-day extensions for the hearing. Do you expect that there might be another extension, or is that November 29th hearing? Is there going to be some kind of decision?
My intent is to be able to put finality to this, but I cannot tell you with any certainty because I still don't know how much work may need to be done. It's still pending. Yes, ma'am.
Have the prosecutors handling the case given you any advice, and if so, what was that?
Look, I mean, there are differences of opinion. There are differences of opinion within the office, and that is a healthy part of the process, right? You don't want to have everybody agreeing to any one thing. I mean, one of the things that I personally do well is by listening to different opinions and different ways of looking at evidence or looking at a particular case or the law. So there are people in the office that would tell you that this case should never be neither resentenced nor habeas should be granted. There are other people in the office that believe that this should be evaluated carefully and that there may be a process there on the path. I will make the final decision based on all those conversations.
I mean, that said, though, the family has also said that they should be free. Does that?
That's correct. The
sway you in
family,
any way?
my understanding is that the family, by and large, would like them to be released. Yes, ma'am.
Has the increased focus on this case from the public affected your decision to re-examine this case?
Well, look, you know, when I was elected 4 years ago, I came on a very clear platform of looking at our work through a lens of a modern approach to criminal justice. And part of that is not getting simply locked up in what we did in the past, right? So there's no question that I may be more open to review things that other prosecutors may not. And that was the reason why I was elected. But I have to tell you, again, this is a careful, deliberate process. I will evaluate both the evidence that is presented by those that believe that no relief should be granted, and I will evaluate the evidence of those that believe that relief should be granted, and then I'll make a decision.
Do you
want them to stay?
You know what? I don't know the answer to that. I know that certainly there are family members that believe that they should be released, but there may be other family members that disagree. Again, that would not be uncommon.
So is there any kind of open case regarding the Rosello allegations in the DA's office? Is there an investigation or an open case for you guys?
Not that I'm aware of this moment.
Has the DA's office interviewed the Menendezes since this?
You know what? This is an ongoing investigation. We're working through their lawyers, and we'll continue to work through their lawyers. They're both represented. Okay, thank you.
¿Nos puede dar la información en español,
Sí, cómo que no.
fiscal, lo que
Claro.
acaba de decir?
Sí, claro.
All right, so the press conference there, moving over into a Spanish translation, just quickly, the DA wanted to let everyone know and acknowledge the existence of these two new pieces of evidence, a letter written by Eric and accusations by a former member of Menudo. They have not been vetted yet, so they have not confirmed whether those are good or real or something that they can use in a case. They said there are a couple of options if, in fact, they are shown to be real. There's a habeas option where the attorneys, which I believe it's already been filed, where the attorneys attorneys can file to have the case reopened and perhaps get a new trial. But also they could ask the prosecution to reevaluate the case as far as sentencing is concerned, looking at whether the boys had been rehabilitated. They said in his 4 years in office, he's resentenced 300 people and only 4 have reoffended. All right. So what I want to do now is, and again, as I was saying, he had switched over to a Spanish translation for the Spanish-speaking audience out there, but he's coming back now, so let's go back now for the end of that press conference.
The election is coming up in just over a month.
No, this case has been reviewed by nearly a year. The Netflix documentary just came out recently. We have had a slew of requests and information in this case, and the hearing is coming up shortly. And we're simply addressing the questions that many of you have had for many days.
Will you be at the hearing, Dan?
I'm sorry?
Will you be at the hearing?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Guys, there's one correction for the record. In one instance, we accidentally said the hearing will be on the 29th. It'll be on the 26th, just for your records and for your recording.
All right. We'll end up with that. Let's bring in our guests to discuss. Joining us this hour, criminal defense attorney Maria Pineda is with us, and trial attorney Kelly Hyman joins us as well. Hello, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program. First and foremost, I want to get your reaction to what we just heard. It seems like that this was held, and the question was asked of him, and he kind of dodged around it, but I think it was held because of the renewed interest in the case brought about by that Netflix documentary. Kelly, your thoughts?
Yes, there's been a lot discussed about this documentary and potentially the impact it's going to have on this case. It's definitely, people are very interested in this case, but this could potentially mean that they get out of jail right away or potentially have another trial and go back through it again. But sexual abuse allegations are very serious, and no matter what, it's something that we should really take into consideration.
Yeah, I agree. And the question was asked, Marie, about how things might be different today with these allegations versus then. And I think it would have been a significant difference.
Especially if they knew about the evidence they're claiming exists now. That letter, which basically was an outcry before the murders. So it would really not justify it, but like you said earlier, lessen and mitigate the reason for the murders. And then after that, they had the allegations of the young man from Menudo that basically says he too was molested by the victim. So if that was available, it might have changed the entire situation.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's interesting? I thought he was sort of laying this out there, this idea of the resentencing I found very interesting. Because to your point, if juries look at this a little differently and say, okay, maybe you thought that your life was in danger, which we understand now because of our understanding of abuse and how abuse victims think, but yet we don't think it was objectively the right thing. Maybe they consider it a manslaughter case. Maybe they look at the resentencing and say, you know what? This might fit more into a manslaughter case rather than going through the whole spectacle of a trial and say 35 years is enough. These folks have been rehabilitated and we don't think they'll reoffend.
Does the punishment fit the crime?
Yes.
And I definitely think that's going to be key when they're reevaluating this case, especially with this new allegations of the sexual abuse and maybe potentially taking that into consideration and saying they've already done 35 years and now it's time for them to be let go.
Yeah, and I want to be clear, Marie. No, I don't think anyone is saying that the abuse by the father justifies what these boys did. But if, in fact, this shows that, in fact, they might have been telling the truth, again, it goes to their mindset in the actions that they took.
Absolutely. And until this revelation came out from the young man from Menudo, we didn't think that it was possible at all. So it made it seem like they just murdered their parents because of greed. They didn't want to be disciplined, and they just wanted money and a fast life. It changes things. Not like you said, it justifies killing a victim because he was a molester, but it certainly mitigates and it goes into the minds of the victims who are claiming to be victims of, you know, sex abuse.
Yeah, Kelly Hyman, these types of processes, writ for habeas corpus, they can take forever, a very long time. As a matter of fact, I think we heard a question there as well, where it was said that defense in this case found this letter, supposedly written by Eric, outlining or as an outcry for this abuse to his cousin about a year ago, and they filed the writ for habeas corpus, still hasn't gone through the court, still doesn't even have a response from the state. So with the latest, you know, information and and the way the prosecutor seems to be looking at it, and I think he clearly was intimating that this possibility of a resentence certainly exists, this could streamline the entire process for these guys, and they could see a second life out of prison.
Yes, and you have to think about the documentary that was done, this case in the public opinion of what kind of role did that play in this, in getting people engaged in the story and interested in the story and reaching out and ultimately potentially changing the outcome of this case.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That shows the power of these things. And Lyle spoke out that this was something negative. He was upset at the way he's portrayed. But I think at the end of the day, this could be a net positive for them because, again, bringing this to light, getting people focused on this, because as I said, this letter's been around and this accusation's been around for over a year, and folks weren't really paying attention till this whole monsters thing came out. So it was interesting. All right, we'll take a break here. Coming up on Court TV, we're going to turn back to the sentencing hearing in the brother and sister murder trial in Tennessee. Karen and Michael Murray will soon learn how much time they'll spend behind bars. So keep it here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
For TV fans, you demanded it.
Here we go, do it.
So now you're getting more true crime at nighttime.
Oh my God, oh my God.
48 hours on Court TV. Tonight, 7/6 Central on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, new developments in the murder of Anna Walsh. We're taking a closer look at how Trooper Proctor from the Karen Reed case could play a role in the case against Brian Walsh.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Everyone knows Halloween is all about black, and Michaels has all the decor we need. What don't you get about black?
We really need to get that life insurance.
I know, it's just a lot.
Did someone say life insurance? Introducing Evie for Ethos.
Let's make this easy.
In just 10 minutes, Ethos can help you protect your family's future for as little as $10 a month.
But the medical exams are invasive, right?
You won't feel a thing because there aren't any. Go to ethoslife.com, answer a few health questions, and you can get same-day coverage up to $2 million. Ethos. Life insurance so easy it feels like magic. Get a quote in seconds at ethoslife.com.
This is the story of the one who doesn't just see a broken dock. He sees lost revenue, a late night, and work stalled to a halt. Thankfully, he has the experience to handle whatever comes his way and has Grainger on his side, offering access to technical product specialists and the scale to deliver fast, so he can keep his business in gear and always moving forward. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
No, not now. Are you a genie?
You got 3 wishes.
How about free talk, free text, and free data?
You just got text now. The only phone service with unlimited talk and text plus data for essential apps, all for free.
Like free?
Free. No bills. So text me, email me. It's free.
It's magic.
It's not magic. Download now.
It's party time. I'm talking about Jackpot Party, the leading free-to-play mobile slots game that always gives you more. Download Jackpot Party for free and get a 45 million coin bonus. Jackpot Party, a party in every spin.
What will you do when the power goes out? Power outages can be unpredictable and inconvenient, but with a Generac home standby generator, your life goes on uninterrupted because you'll have power when you need it the most.
The #1 thing to prepare for is extended power outages. Don't make it so hard on yourself. Have a Generac home standby generator.
And special financing and low monthly payment options are available. Call or go online now to request your free quote. Power your life with Generac.
I tried a bunch of different probiotics before seed.
And they didn't help. It addressed my bloating and my irregularity.
It's really helping my daily bowel movements and keeping me pretty regular. I started feeling better, I'm less bloated, felt flatter, lighter. I just keep going back to seed because it actually works.
Now I walk around and smiling every day because I don't get bloated anymore.
I have a structured settlement and I call J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now.
I have an annuity, but I need cash now.
Call J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now. 877 cash now. they'll help you too. One lump sum of cash they will pay to you. If you get long-term payments but you need cash now, call J.G. Wentworth, 877-CASH-NOW. 877-CASH-NOW.
877-CASH-NOW.
877-CASH-NOW.
It's your money. Use it when you need it.
Call J.G. Wentworth, 877-CASH-NOW.
Call 877-CASH-NOW to get a $100 gift card for a free quote.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. A judge is sentencing Karen Murray and her brother Michael for their role in their elderly mother's death. Sheila Murray died in August of 2019 after she was admitted to the hospital, prompting the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation to look into the circumstances of her death. Now, investigators determined Karen and Michael were responsible for the abuse and neglect that resulted in her death. They were indicted and arrested in March of 2021. And in June, they were convicted of first-degree murder and aggravated neglect of a vulnerable adult. Let's go back into the sentencing hearing where the judge is talking about the gruesome conditions that their mother was in when the medics arrived.
Her ankle was broken, and to the extent that the bone was protruding through the side of her foot, and had been in that situation so long that it was necrotic, it was black, it was deteriorated, and had clearly had a lengthy period of neglect for that type of a wound. The EMS officers, John Shelton and Joshua Jenkins, said that they had both had hundreds of calls that involved very graphic, sad, neglectful, horrible situations involving children of all ages up to elderly adults. And this was, to quote Mr. Shelton, one of the top 5 worst calls in his career, spanning hundreds of calls. Everyone involved in the treatment of Ms. Murray, who had been in the medical profession not just days or weeks, but years, recalled specifically how graphic, how painful, how difficult it was to see her in the circumstances in which she had been left by her children and her baby. Dr. Lawson, who first cared for her at the medical center, described it as horrific. The conditions didn't occur overnight, and that she had a very clear memory of what Ms. Murray appeared like in the emergency room. She was covered in fecal matter. She smelled of urine. Her room was described as having those same smells by the EMS personnel who transported her from the home to the hospital. And again, these bodily fluid and bodily substances had been there a long time, to the extent that when she was attempted to be cleaned, her skin kept. Again, this did not happen overnight. Dr. Cook, the medical examiner, the forensic pathologist, who described her wounds as, again, not being able to happen in just a very short period of time, that the source could have been prevented, the necrotic tissue could have been treated, her wounds were something that could have been taken care of had she received the appropriate medical care. This is a horrible case for people who should never be in a courtroom. They don't have a criminal record. The defense counsel is right. I don't think you're thieves or thugs or probably anyone that would likely hurt someone in the future. However, you let your mother deteriorate to such a condition that it caused her death, and that condition had to result in terrible pain suffering, and humiliation of a medieval type that no human should have to endure. Basically, she was nearly thrown in a dungeon and left to rot, and that's exactly what happened. All that had to happen was a phone call be made for someone to come. And rather than do that, she was left in that dungeon, in that cell, and the only crime she committed was having two children that didn't care enough about her to take care of her and prevent her. And she was not an elderly lady. She had had a horrible stroke, a debilitating stroke that left her as vulnerable as a newborn. And that was bartered for financial reasons to keep the house. It's unforgivable. And it can't be fixed. You may not be horrible people, but the way you treated your mother was good. And the jury found exactly that. Having said that, the state is right. A lot of people are being charged these days with neglecting elderly adults. We have an aging population, especially in this region, and we're seeing more and more of these cases. Deterrence might be a factor, but I think people just decide they're not going to do it. They're not going to take care of these folks. It's just too much, too hard. But whether it be for reasons similar to what Karen and Michael Murray did, along with the decision-making of their father to, well, we're just going to keep the house and we'll do what we can. We're going to live on the elder person's Social Security or retirement, and we'll just let them lay there. However it be, these people are completely dumb. And I wish I thought this crime could be deterred. But I don't think deterrence is the factor that would apply in this case. So in terms of the factors that would apply for enhancement in range, the state argued Factor 5, the defendant treated or allowed victims to be treated with exceptional cruelty during the commission of the offense. The court finds that really brushes very closely to the elements of the offense of counts 2 and or 3 on the aggravated neglect of a vulnerable adult with injury or harm. While any one of her injuries that the court has detailed could have been considered sufficient for those particular crimes, the court has no way of knowing what ones or if the overall injuries were considered by the jury as an element of those offenses. So, out of an abundance of caution, the court will not enhance the range on those, and that would be the only factor that would apply. The mitigation factors, the court does not find that any of those necessarily applied. Both defendants were equally responsible for the care of their mother, even though Karen Murray may have handled more sensitive areas of her body. Both of them being females. Still, there was plenty of wounds on her body that were not in private or intimate areas.
All right, we'll step aside here and take a break. Coming up next on Court TV, we'll get a look at the second half of sentencing in the brother and sister murder trial of Karen and Michael Murray. Karen has been sentenced to life in prison. Up next, the judge will then turn her sights on Michael and announce his punishment. Should he be treated the same? We'll find out when we return.
Hi, I'm John.
Hey, I'm Janine.
I'm Steve, and I've been a consumer cellular customer for 8 years.
3 years.
11 years.
When they asked me if I want to be in a testimonial commercial,
I said sure.
I said sure. I said sure.
But I got a tournament to get ready for.
Not if the fish are biting.
But it's a beautiful day. We started looking for another provider primarily because we felt like we were paying way too much.
I chose to switch because of the savings. It was amazing, way cheaper than where I was.
I could hardly believe that my bill was so small. I'm paying less than $30 a month. It's a great service for a great price.
Unlimited talk and text with flexible data plans starting at $20. Plus, for a limited time, new customers save $50 when you sign up today.
The place that I live in is heavily forested. There's a lot of trees. What got me to be a customer, really, to tell you the truth, was the reception and the coverage of Consumer Cellular.
I travel a lot. I need coverage, no matter where I am. And so whether I'm in Augusta, Georgia, or Pebble Beach, California, I know that I'm going to be covered with Consumer Cellular.
I love to go faraway places, remote places. I haven't had trouble with coverage, no drop calls.
Consumer Cellular offers fast, reliable nationwide coverage. Plus, for a limited time, new customers save $50 when you sign up today.
When we switched over from Verizon to Consumer Cellular, it was a really painless process.
Just kept the same phone, I kept the same number.
Anytime I call customer service, it's U.S.-based.
It's nice to know when I have an issue that I can have a real conversation.
Customer service has been great. I just get a bill at the end of the month. It's on auto pay, and it's super easy.
And as AARP members, we also get a nice discount.
That's right. AARP members receive a 5% discount. Make the switch now to the most awarded brand by J.D. Power. New customers save $50 when you sign up today.
Call 800-664-3547.
Or visit consumercellular.com to switch today.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, ride your bike.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, smile big and bright.
Thousands of kids just like me are happy every day.
And it's all because of generous people like you who support Shriners Hospitals for Children every month.
All you have to do is call the number on your screen or go online to loveshriners.org right now with your monthly gift.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children is able to make an everyday miracle happen for kids like me.
If you're happy and you know it, dance around. If you're happy and you know it, play a song.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, take your shot.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Will today be the day you send your love to the rescue?
When you call the number on your screen right now and give as little as $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you'll be making a life-changing difference for a child, just like Sarah.
Your monthly gift today could change your life forever.
Because of you.
We are happy and we know it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please call or go online right now to give. If operators are busy, please wait patiently or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. I want to get you right back into that Tennessee courtroom where siblings Karen and Michael Murray are being sentenced for the death of their mother. The judge has sentenced 49-year-old Karen to life in prison and has now turned her attention to Karen's brother, 43-year-old Michael.
As to Mr. Michael Murray, the court does impose a life sentence based on the verdict of the jury. That is the only possible sentence. In count 2, Mr. Murray sentenced to an 8-year term concurrent with the life sentence. And in count 3, which will merge with count 2, a 3-year sentence will be paid. Extremely tragic case. Ms. Sheila Murray should have been cared for in a setting with medical professionals. And Mr. and Ms. Murray should be living their lives. As Karen Murray said, they have their own lives to live. Regrettably, both of you will be living the rest of your lives absent any action on the deal in custody of the Department of Corrections. And you are therefore sentenced, each of you, to a life sentence. They would be on that elder abuse registry, but again, absent this being overturned on felony convictions regarding, can't see that, but I'll note that on the judgment. We do need a motion for new trial date.
In fact, I've got a perfunctory motion for new trials we go ahead and file today.
Speaking on those, all right. Mr. Burke, consummately prepared. All right, you've asked for a transcript. Mr. Dawson, if you'll get me a transcript and file the motion for new trial within 30 days from today on behalf of Mr. Michael Murray. I'll this with the clerk. And give that to Mr. Schlott. I can't remember who covered this trial.
I did.
You did? All right.
Everybody did.
We'll rotate forward. All right. The motion for the trial will go ahead and set. Again, liberal permission to amend the motion for new trial once the transcript is received. The motion should be filed not later than November 1st, because November 3rd is a Sunday. And I will order the transcript prepared, and a copy, just a duplicate, can be made for Mr. Dawson based on Mr. Bird's request for a transcript. The motion for new trial, again, will be given liberal permission to amend the motion for new trial. How far out would council prefer to go to hear the motion for new trial? We want a status date, maybe in January, to see where we are. I know that on trials, some of which both of you have been involved in, the transcripts are still being prepared. So I wouldn't expect this transcript to be ready before the first of the year, latest.
We decided in January or February.
We have a miscellaneous day on January 31st. Is that too close?
No, well, not only issue, Judge, I've got a jury trial scheduled in federal court, which should be done by then. It's that week. It starts the 27th, and I don't. It's not a factually complicated case. I don't imagine it will go to the 31st. I mean, we could set it for that. If there's a problem, we could reschedule it.
I've got February 20th.
Can we do February 20th, because just in case Andre probably goes over, I don't expect it to, but we set
and assuming that Mr. and Ms. Murray will be transported to a state prison between now and then, I will order them not to be transported since that's a status day. Again, I would expect that the transcript will take at least the end of the year, if not more. And Ms. Shalott, who does most of the typing, our board reporter, she's had surgery, so she may be a little bit more behind than we normally expect. She had rough go of it there for a bit. So we'll set February 20 for status. And unless council requests, I will not have the Department of Corrections transport either Ms. Murray or Mr. Murray for that status day. On February 20, we'll select a motion for new trial based upon whether you have already received the transcript and had an opportunity to review it in its entirety and prepare an amended motion for new trial. Is that agreeable with this day?
Yes, sir.
I'll do an order to that. Anything else take up as consent?
I didn't want to say
No. Do y'all have y'all gotten back to Rule 12 information? Ms. Shane, you need to.
We're going to Rule 12.
She usually logs them in right after get conviction. But if y'all want to take a look at it, I've got to file those. I just have to file them after the motion for new trial's heard, but we try to go ahead and get them in line because honestly, we've tried so many first-degree murder cases in this district that we've got to be a long line of Rule 12 forms to send in. So, again, Mr. Burke's been involved in here. All right. Anything else as to Ms. Murray's?
All right, so there you have it. Judge Rice sentences both siblings to life in prison without the possibility of parole. I thought there was a slight chance that maybe Michael might be treated differently. Not the case. Both of them will be spending the rest of their life in prison. Interestingly enough, Chris Bird, who represented Karen, he spoke after the sentencing and talked a little bit about the sentencing and broke it down for folks. So let's take a listen to him.
The Murrays were charged with felony murder and perpetration of two theories of aggravated neglect of vulnerable adults. One was involving infliction of serious bodily injury, the other serious harm. Those two counts, the murder charge, the only sentence that could arise from that was 51 years. It was life with the possibility of parole, which means that by statute they would have to serve at least 51 years before they'd be eligible. However, we had to resolve the issue of sentencing with regard to the underlying charges as well, which is what we were here for today. Both Karen and Michael have no record to speak of. There are no misdemeanors or no felonies, no anything. So they were standard offenders in the state of Tennessee. So the more serious of the two charges was a B-class felony. It carries a range of 8 to 12 years. So that's what we were here for today, to decide where they would fall within that particular range, which may seem like a moot point given that they have a life sentence to pull, but it's still something procedurally that we have to do.
And the judge came up with 8 years on those secondary charges, but they are to run concurrent. So again, 51 years, they would be eligible for parole under the current sentencing guidelines, but they'll be well into their 90s. And the judge did say they will serve it to term. So nothing sooner, 51 years before they're eligible for parole. Let's bring in our guest joining us, criminal defense attorney Marie Pedera and trial attorney Kelly Hyman, still with us. Ladies, I want to get your response to this. I know we have some differing opinions on this. Marie, I'll start with you. What is your response to the judge's decision?
I think it's a travesty of justice. I think looking at the totality of the circumstances, it is unjust and excessive that they should spend the rest of their lives basically in prison. I think that the caregivers failed to properly educate them. It's one thing to say they neglected their mother, but were they educated on the outcome of the neglect? And I would submit to you, no, they were not properly educated, and those caregivers need to be held accountable, if not on a criminal level, clearly they're not going to, but on a civil level and disciplined by the Board of Nursing because they failed to educate these people and assess their ability to be educated.
Yeah, fair enough. And you know, it's interesting, Kelly, because I thought for sure we'd see some evidence about their mental state. All of us thought that there might have been some issues there with sort of the mental health of both of these defendants. We saw none of that. It was allowed under Tennessee law. I looked it up. They could have brought in that evidence. They didn't. So based on that, because I know you feel that there were some issues there as well, how do you feel about the sentencing by the judge?
It's a sad day because here these children lost their mother, and no matter how much time they are in jail, it's not going to bring their mother back. But ultimately, it's up to the courts based on the evidence presented to them and make a determination of how long their sentence is going to be. But that, no matter what, it's not going to bring back their mom. And, you know, ultimately, they're going to spend the rest of their life in jail.
Yeah. And I just want to point out that, again, the intent here was not for murder. It was for the neglect. And if someone dies under your care who's a vulnerable adult and they die, then you get convicted of first-degree murder. It's a felony murder case. I want to listen quickly to Tracy Romans. She was a nurse practitioner. She testified at the trial, and this is where I think, what she testifies to here, is where I think the state got this idea that this may have been intentional neglect. Take a listen.
Now, you know that Miss Sheila passed away in August of 2019, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you have any visits scheduled with her between that March visit and August when she passed?
Yes, it was scheduled in June.
Did you make that visit?
No.
Do you know why?
It was canceled.
To your knowledge, was there ever another home visit rescheduled?
No.
All right, Marie, so I just want to go back to you because I'm in agreement on some level with what you're saying. I think there were some issues with the education, but there were choices made here, and I think the state looked at it and said the decline was going on from her last visit in March all through August, yet they canceled it and never rescheduled that June visit or an August visit, which would have been another 3 months, and there were 3 months scheduling. What do you make of that?
What did the nurse do when the cancellation occurred? Clearly, it wasn't the patient who canceled. It was her children, right?
Karen, yes,
so
Karen.
whose voice are you advocating for? The patient. So if you know you have a sick patient with 2 people who visibly, look like they're not equipped to take care of her, you follow up. If I have a patient and I'm visiting the patient every day for insulin, and then all of a sudden her children don't open the door for me, I'm calling the doctor, I'm calling my supervisor, I'm calling 911. So what did they do when it was canceled? And then they just waited around until what? They are responsible too. They're supposed to be the voice of the patient, and they dropped the ball.
Yeah, and I don't think you could bring criminal charges against them, but at the end of the day, as far as I know right now, there have been no civil cases brought against that particular company that was responsible for that nurse practitioner. So it looks like it's just going to end right here with the 2 of them, Karen Murray and Michael Murray, spending the rest of their lives in prison. All right, we'll take a break now, folks. The defendant takes the stand in the final pretrial motions hearing ahead of the suitcase murder trial of Sarah Boom. Remember that? That was one for the books. Well, we want to know your thoughts. Were her Miranda rights violated, and should her police interrogation video be tossed? We'll show you some of her responses after the break, and your responses as well, so keep it here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
The most successful true crime TV shows ever.
This is crazy.
Now has a new home on America's original true crime obsession, 48 Hours, on Court TV. Coming up next on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, new developments in the murder of Anna Walsh. We're taking a closer look at how Trooper Proctor from the Karen Reed case could play a role in the case against Brian Walsh.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
Stay ahead of your child's moderate to severe eczema. And they can show off clearer skin and less itch with Dupixent, the #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists and allergists that helps heal your child's skin from within. Serious allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Tell your doctor about new or worsening eye problems, such as eye pain or vision changes, including blurred vision, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma medicines without talking to your doctor. Ask your child's eczema specialist about Dupixent.
Do you have subscriptions that are forgotten or even hidden? See and cancel them all in one place with Experian. Oh. Download the app and see how much you could save.
You know what I love about Quick Hit Slots? It's the mobile slots game that gives you those authentic Vegas thrills. Quick Hit Slots has all the games you know and love. And best of all, the jackpot. Download Quick Hit Slots for free and get a 6 million coin bonus. Make every day a winning day.
I have a structured settlement and I call J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now.
I have an annuity, but I need cash now.
Call J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now.
It's your money. Use it when you need it.
Call J.G. Wentworth, 877.
Call 877-CASH now to get a $100 gift card for a free quote.
What will you do when the power goes out? Power outages can be unpredictable and inconvenient, but with a Generac home standby generator, your life goes on uninterrupted, because when your Generac detects a power outage, it automatically powers up, giving your family the security and peace of mind they deserve.
We don't have to worry about whether we lose power or not. If the utility company does not come through, our Generac does.
After the hurricane happened, we just want to be prepared for anything.
8 out of 10 home generators are Generac, with thousands of satisfied customers.
The #1 thing to prepare for is extended power outages. Don't make it so hard on yourself. Have a Generac home standby generator.
And owning a generator is easier than ever. Special financing and low monthly payment options are available. And if you call now, you will also receive a free 5-year warranty valued at over $500. Call or go online now to request your free quote.
Many probiotics don't survive digestion. That means whatever you're taking for your gut probably isn't getting where it needs to go. Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic is the 2-in-1 prebiotic and probiotic engineered to survive and formulated to reduce bloating and intermittent constipation in as little as 2 weeks. Get started today with Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic. Visit seed.com to order now.
Walden University is for people who want to make a difference. People just like you. You're always saying be the change. So come on, man. Be the change. Let's do this.
Walden University, set a course for change.
This is from Populish. You know the brand that made those viral shapewear dresses?
It has this mesh shapewear underneath that's super breathable and stretchy. This looks incredible and it's super comfy too. Guys, this is gonna boost your confidence so much. You guys can check them out at populish.com.
I was in shock. I was traumatized by the situation, and then trying to focus on everything that was going on at my home. I was hungover. I was still, I believe, intoxicated to a degree.
Defendant Sarah Boone took the stand yesterday for a suppression hearing. She and her lawyer want the judge to toss out her police interview from February of 2020 ahead of her suitcase murder trial, which begins next week. Now, Boone is charged with second-degree murder in the death of her boyfriend, George Torres. His body was found inside of a zipped suitcase on February 25th of 2020. Her attorney wants to suppress a 2-hour-long police interrogation video, claiming that detectives did not fully read Boone her Miranda rights. So we wanted to know your thoughts. It's time for today's Talk Back segment. So we asked you, do you think Sarah Boone's Miranda rights were violated? Should her police interrogation video be thrown out? That would be a major dent to the prosecution's case, no doubt. Let's bring back in our guests. Joining us, criminal defense attorney Marie Pereira and trial attorney Kelly Hyman. All right, ladies, let's go to our first comment. It comes from James. James says, even if her interrogation interview was thrown out, she'd still be found guilty by her own home recording. I felt sorry for her attorney getting objections and sustains at most of his questions. Fair enough at the end of the day, but Kelly, I'll start with you. What do you make of his comment? I don't know if I necessarily agree with him. I think it would make it a lot easier for this claim of battered wife syndrome, which, you know, then I think could carry the day, but I still think it's a stretch.
I agree with you. I still think it's a kind of stretch as well, but ultimately it's going to be up to the judge to make that determination of whether it comes in or not, but definitely going to be a stretch.
All right, let's go to our next comment. It comes from Casey. Casey says she was read her rights twice and asked if she understood. The interview should not be excluded. And that's kind of where I stand with it. And again, I come from the defense bar, so I'm not a friend necessarily of, but, you know, tactics by police. But I think as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, Marie, they say it's the essence. You read 95% of it. You don't ask the last question, are you ready to talk? I'm not sure this judge is going to look at this and say, I'm going to go against all of Florida law. I'm going to go against all of federal law and overturn it and not allow it in. I mean, and throw it out. I think he's going to allow it.
I agree with you, and I agree with Casey. At the end of the day, like you said, it's the essence of it. They read her all but one, and she sat there. She understood what was going on. So you're looking at the totality of the circumstances, and they are not going to throw out this confession based on a little itty-bitty technicality that did not impair her rights.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting, Kelly, I'm not sure how much of a true confession it is. I mean, it's clear that what happened there, I think the problem is that phone video where she seems angry at him and seems to be wanting to get back to him. But on some level, I think it might support this idea because what she's saying is, I want you to feel how I feel when you choke me. And so there is some sense that there was some abuse coming from George to her, but there's also a sense that maybe she might have been abusing him.
Yes, and who was doing what to whom, right? And what was their intent is definitely going to be key in this case.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, our next comment comes from Douglas. Douglas says, Miranda rights vary. She was read the rights as stated on most general Miranda rights forms. I agree with that 100%. Kelly, I'll go back to you. As far as this battered wife syndrome defense goes, she's going to take the stand. And I think her attorney alluded to it when he was arguing about whether she should have leg shackles. He said, what's going to happen when she takes the stand? So I think she's taking the stand. You know, we've seen a lot of Sarah Boone. I don't know if that's going to be terribly helpful for her.
Well, ultimately, it's going to be her decision. Now, the attorney can advise her and say, no, you shouldn't take the witness stand. But ultimately, it's up to her to make that determination. And it's also important to think, is she going to come across as believable? Is she going to come across as likable? Is she going to come across as someone that they believe was abused, or was, in fact, she the abuser of him?
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head. So much of that has to do with whether you're likable or not, as to whether people believe your story. I'm not sure she fits that bill. Our next comment comes from Donna. Donna says Boone can't keep her mouth shut. Amen. She gets on the stand at her preliminary hearing and admits she was hungover the day after. And Boone willingly and knowingly gave the police interview. You could have walked out at any time and demanded a lawyer. She understood her rights. Marie, I think that really boils it down in a nutshell.
Absolutely. And like you said, the video with her saying, that's my name, don't wear it out, baby. That's what you get for choking me or cheating on me. Yeah. She did it out of revenge, jealousy. Yes. She had resentment towards him, and he didn't read the room. Because if he read the room, and they have all of this history of fighting, he punched me, I punch her, we have cross complaints, why would you get in a suitcase and rely on her to unzip you? Read the room, bro. Read it.
What I wouldn't give to have the video of him getting in that thing.
Oh.
How did he get in it? There was no way she could have put him in it, so he must have got in voluntarily. I mean, I would love to see how that all happened. But anyway, Kelly Hyman, Marie Bernetta, thank you so much for joining me this hour. We truly appreciate it. Folks, I want you to stick around, because coming up next, we're going to take you through the 3 things that we've learned today in the cases we've been covering from coast to coast right here on Court TV.
Hi, my name is Damian Clark. And if you have both Medicare and Medicaid, I have some really encouraging news that you'll definitely want to hear. Depending on the plans available in your area, you may be eligible to get extra benefits with the Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. Most plans include the Humana Healthy Options Allowance, a monthly allowance to help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items like vitamins, pain relievers, first aid supplies, and more. The Healthy Options Allowance is loaded onto a prepaid card each month, and whatever you don't spend carries over from each month. You can pay nothing for covered prescriptions all year long, even name brand drugs. All plans have $0 copays for covered preventive dental services, which include 2 free cleanings a year, as well as fillings. They may also have vision coverage, including vision exams, and a yearly allowance towards eyewear, such as lenses or contacts. Even hearing coverage, which includes routine hearing exams and coverage towards hearing aids. You'll even have a $0 copay for routine vaccines and telehealth visits. Plus, your doctor, hospital, and pharmacy may already be part of our large Humana networks. So call the number on your screen now to speak with a licensed Humana sales agent. Wouldn't you love benefits like a monthly allowance? To help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items. So if you have Medicare and Medicaid, call the number on your screen now and speak with a licensed Humana sales agent. If you're eligible, they can even help enroll you over the phone in a Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. And remember, annual enrollment ends on December 7th. So call now. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
At Consumer Cellular, we pride ourselves on getting you the exact same nationwide coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. But don't worry, we've got a lot more than that going for us. Woo! Like this beautiful store in Arizona, for example. It's the perfect place for me to tell you a little bit more about our phones and how they can become your phones. You name it, we probably got it. We have the top smartphones from all the major companies. If it's state-of-the-art cameras you want with space-age metal housing, we got them. If you want a smartphone with lots of bells and whistles but won't break the bank, we've got that too. We even have flip phones like the Iris Flip. If you're someone that doesn't need all that mumbo-jumbo and just wants something simple. And now, we even have watches.
We do.
No matter what device you choose, you'll be happy to know that if your data needs change,
No problem.
with our SmartFlex feature, you don't have to sweat it. Like say you're on a road trip out west and end up using a bunch of data. We can simply flex you up to the next data tier for as little as $5. Then, when you get home, you can flex right back down with no penalty. So you only pay for what you actually need.
With Consumer Cellular, you get the exact same nationwide coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost.
I know what you're thinking. What if I don't have one of these amazing stores in my town yet? Can I get these phones sent to me?
Yes, you can.
Will our award-winning customer service help me switch over or add a line for $15 to make my own family plan?
Of course they will.
Is it easy?
Easy as pie.
You see that tower out there? It's a beauty. And there are thousands more like it, working hard for me and you, supplying 5G coverage to this beautiful nation of ours. We know how important coverage is. That's why we offer a risk-free guarantee. If you're not satisfied within 30 days of activation, you can pay nothing. Oh, look.
New customers save $50 when you sign up today.
Call 1-800-918-5644.
Find us in Target or visit consumercellular.com to switch today.
She knows what she's talking about. Pick up the phone.
Welcome back. Here are 3 things that we've learned on this Thursday. First, the Los Angeles District Attorney is investigating new evidence in the Menendez brothers murder case. During a press conference you saw right here on Court TV, DA George Gascon said that his office would review what he described was new evidence that the brothers were molested, a move that could lead to Eric and Lyle's resentencing. Their attorneys have asked the court to vacate their conviction. A hearing is scheduled for November 29th. The brothers were sentenced to life for shooting and killing their parents, Jose and Kitty, in 1989. They've already served 35 years. Second, a jury has reached a verdict in the federal trial of the ex-Memphis police officers who beat Tyree Nichols to death. Police video shows 5 officers, who are all black, punch and kick Nichols, who was also black, about a block from his home. 2 of the officers, Desmond Mills and Emmett Martin, pleaded guilty and testified for prosecutors. Today, a jury returned a mixed verdict against the other 3. They were all convicted of at least 1 charge, but 2 of them were acquitted of civil rights charges. And third, the Western movie Rust is set to premiere 3 years after tragedy struck on set. The world premiere will take place in Poland next month. An international film festival made the announcement today that the premiere will honor Helena Hutchins. She died when she was struck by a bullet in the gun fired by Alec Baldwin during rehearsal. Movie armorer Hannah Gutierrez was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, and Baldwin's case was dismissed due to evidence suppression by the state. All right, I'm Michael Ayala. It's been a pleasure being with you. Thank you so much, as always, for being with me. Coming up next on 48 Hours, 2 women were struck by an SUV while crossing a parking lot in Phoenix in October of 2009. One of them dies, and the person behind the wheel was her own father. The search for him became an international manhunt. And ahead at 8 p.m. Eastern, tune into Closing Arguments for a tale of 2 cases in Massachusetts. Minipolitan takes a look at the breaking Menendez brothers news and how defendant Brian Walsh is using the murder case of Karen Reed to bolster his claims that tainted officers in Reed's case could also impact his murder trial. All that and more coming up next here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.